So this is the first fight versus Tenebae. If you're watching this video, this is gonna be triple threat video, which we have the last 3 guild wars of the entire season. Last 3 guild wars all together combined. First one here, Tenebae versus Tigrazo. My Athletica, Pavel, Cdom Cleave team is pretty flexible. If you guys are watching my videos in chronology, you know, I've used this comp against like other ones as well, but usually against Kayron. Ironically, it's just how Kayron is set up. He's really good with Athletica if there's no FCC on the team, and generally it's some kind of team that you can cleave. So Cdom comes into play, and then because you always get the skill null, the Pavel is pretty much immune to the Kayron, and Pavel is a really good cleaver. Second one here, slightly a bit of BM. I was playing around with this. I'm like, okay, maybe I could even do it with just a solo, but just in case, I just brought a Violet. I haven't used my Earth Violet in a really long time. This is a decent time to use him. Champion Zerato technically solos this himself, a well-built one on lifesteal set. Should have no problem winning. Give him Portrait here to get more damage. So technically he should be able to heal easier. The elemental bait as well. Everybody's going for Zerato and not going for Violet. Violet really is passively killing off any AoE that misses him. So Dizzy on all skills, Cerise on the S3, Taiwan back on the S3 if he misses. But as long as Violet's Apple is on cooldown, his S2, Cerise will always miss him. So I just thought about using the S3 there, but I was like, it doesn't really matter. If Cerise turn cycles quick, which she does, my Violet would kill her off anyway. But anyways, that's it for the first one.
Did you expect anything else?
Second one versus Dietav. I think I've seen him in arena. I know he has good gear, I think, so I wasn't, you know, I wasn't going easy on him, so to speak. I went with a Portrait on this one because I wanted to kill off the Crow, because the Soulburn Cdom generally will kill Violet if I can kill the Crow. Ended up I didn't kill him, just like slightly off. This was a high HP Crow, 23,000 HP. I'm pretty sure it had really good defense, and it's because 2 misses on Violet, so the Aureus didn't absorb as much damage as I wanted. Technically, so Crow was pretty much like bear tanking, and Specteni died on the first hit, so I got lucky. I have to say that I got really lucky there. If I missed that Violet, I would have not been able to kill him, not with the Aureus there. So although I went cleave and leave, as people say, on riskier comps, I just don't like bruisering anymore, unless it's like a new bruiser, and I'm excited. Like, you guys recently watched my ML Tywin, ML Crow kind of duet duo. But usually I'm just like, I'm looking at the teams, I'm just like, I just want to cleave them. Let's figure out how to cleave them. So Athletica cleave, Broman Basar cleave, Oxalot's cleave. It's like one of those ones. Sometimes I do passive cleaving, which you guys will see in this video, not in this guild war, but in this video. Passive cleaving like SSB type auto cleave. It's an art in and of itself, really. Trying to figure out how to cleave these quote-unquote uncleavable teams. Most of the defenses is either contending for speed, which if you have the gear, you can beat the speed anyway, or they're going with like high damage, high like survivability, so hoping that your healer and Dark Corvus will not sustain it, which it is possible, but Dark Corvus really does make Guild War a bit too easy. Dark Corvus and Dizzy, both those ones, and then Akates or some kind of crazy healer. Rowana, Akates, Ruel, those 3 probably the hardest to kill Soul Weavers on an offense team. So If you bring those, you're more likely to win. This Charles was popping off though. Like I was kind of annoyed. I went with a tank RB on this one, just because like with Tenebae and Bazaar, defense breaks, constant sleep, so you don't really need a crazy hitting RB, especially with Kron being like that kind of the stall. So I usually, in these comps, I usually go with my tank RB build. Last one, Kibli, I think it's Kibli. I've apparently butchered a lot of people's names before on my videos, so if I did, apologies. So like this one, for example, this one would be considered as a speed contention team. I think based on the speed on the Arbiter Vildred, it probably might have been like counter RB. This is why I brought Pavel. No counter on the S2, and then this will one-shot any RB unless it's on Moonlight Dreamblade. It didn't proc if he was on it, but this was relatively safe. So again, using the Pavel cleave comp, very good. Then the next one, this one is what I was talking about, the type of defense, the other type of defense that people usually run, the hard to kill type, baiting the cleave. This one of course is a slightly harder. I mean, if you J-key say cleave this one, you need some kind of like Eaton on Bastion of Pelusia or something like that. And you're still not guaranteed to kill off the MLCan, just because if it was really tanky and you hit him in the right HP threshold and a Cigar Scythe procs, then you won't be able to kill him on S3, because J-Key's S3 is actually weaker than S2. A Bazaar Tenebrae cleave could work too, or Bazaar Tywin cleave. That can work as well. But for these comps, specifically the Spectani MLCan Crow one, I've been using this one. So this one, I mean, technically I'm still a cleaving team. 2 cleavers on this. Very, very safe. Again, I've run this multiple times. If you're a constant watcher of my Guild War, you would know that. Like, I run this. I haven't failed with it yet. It's pretty good.
Are you confident?
And this defense is still used. So I think right now, especially in lower Guild War, a lot of people, you know, they don't have the resources to make a lot of heroes, and then therefore they have to kind of copy paste what other people are doing, or what are quote unquote successful ones. So that's it for the Guild War on Tenebae. Next Guild War is versus Sindria, I think. Again, more cleave. I was a bit lazy. I sometimes re-gear my Oxlots for like really high-end Guild War. Re-gear my Oxlots for the fastest gear. Right now he's not on the fastest. My fastest gear is on Athletica. So I brought the Holiday Euphine there as a deterrent, but it wasn't really. If the Bazaar didn't hit me, that Lilius would have pushed me back, and then therefore I wouldn't have gotten a turn. Based on the speed, I just thought I was quick enough there.
I will guide you through the light.
And then this one is what I was saying, the kind of like the passive auto cleave. Usually you could just go with a Sea Armin on this one, and it's 100% safe. The only reason I went with the ML Crow is just because he's cool. And he's a DPS, so in terms of overall fight, no matter what, it has to be faster than Sea Armin. And then otherwise ML Crow doesn't really do much here. It's just because he's a DPS. He doesn't do much here because he doesn't proc his barrier, or he can't get his cooldown that quick. Roz does have a really cool S3 turn cooldown, a quick one. So I mean, technically he should be, you know, S3ing you once every two to three turns, and he CR cuts and stuff like that. So his movement should be pretty quick down the timeline. But you guys watch me enough, and we use this a lot. So one of the things that I usually always have to consider is that is my own defense comp, you know, SSB cheesable. A lot of them are. You'll see me running this a lot, especially in the next Guild War you watched, the last Guild War we had during the season, versus Irons. So Losky. Roz is very solid though. Very solid hero.
I believe this is what the goddess will.
Highly chosen RTA. Good in Guild War offense. Not super popular in Guild War defense, but he can do stuff. With the right comp, he can throw some players off.
it's too late. I'm getting tired of you. Bye-bye now.
My ammo crawl is not max molar. I'm actually considering max molaring him, even the S1. I've faced some ammo crawl with S1 being max. It does a lot of damage actually, because technically he's still he's a HP scaling bruiser. It's just that most people don't do it because they're thinking, well, I'm not building crit damage, not building crit rate, so why would I mold the S1? Yeah, I think it's like a luxury to have. If you have it, you may as well do it, I guess. But it does do damage, and he's speed buff, so turn cycle's really quick.
Well, shall we go back to the beach?
Second one, too fat for fun. This one is pretty funny. You'll see this. I'm not gonna spoil it. So, Broman, my Broman is 200 effectiveness, right? 200. So resisted. Stripped both immunity on Ruel and the Crow, but resisted the silence, and Spectenny didn't even get a silence proc. So incredibly unlucky. I was considering just to use a Bazaar, like Bazaar, Sindria, and RB is one I usually go to a lot, and the Bazaar would have been good because there was no barrier proc on that Spectenny, so she should have been dead there. She should have been dead. The good thing I did go with my tank RB on this one as well. I just didn't think that the full damage RB, because without a soul burn, I only have one mage. Without a soul burn, I wouldn't be able to kill off the Ruel and the Crow anyway, so I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll go tanky. I'm glad I did. But then now everybody has immunity, so even if Broman procs, then he's not gonna really help. He's dead there, and then I have 2 turns on the Singelica, which is very risky on this one. This one was probably like my riskiest cleave. Again, in retrospect, I think out of the 2 like top end strip mages, Bazaar and Broman, I should have went with Bazaar. I just thought that I could get lucky with some kind of silence, and then, you know, if Crow or even Ruel was silenced, then this team would fall apart really quick. Luckily, I was able to kill off Ruel there. Otherwise, I would have died for sure. Now, at this point, my RB has not procced his revive. There's a resistance on that Crow. It might be like on purpose. It might be that he got lucky. I'm not quite sure. I don't have effectiveness on RB, so I mean, it could be either or. But he's resisting everything. I know that some people are building some resistance in ML Crow. But yeah, as you can see, he did some damage there. My RB is pretty tanky, and his S1 with Portrait does damage. It would cut me down really quick, especially he has speed buff. Second one, very easy. I mean, Oxlots, and then that Cerise is really fast though. 92%. I have a Watcher Shuri. Oh, sorry, I have a Fire Shuri there. 14 speed imprint. So that Cerise is actually really fast. Last fight versus Tries Tease. Cleave again. This was my last hit on this Guild War, so I didn't really mind the risk for Kayron. Like there was always a risk cleaving Kayron with J.K. Say you might not strip the immunity, you might not reset him. Like even if you stripped immunity, you might not reset him too. Got really lucky there. But it would have been better if it was like, it wouldn't matter anyways. The SSB was brought on this one because SSB should be able to take on Kayron. No damage here needed. I was considering just to go with the Dizzy, but in case I couldn't do enough damage, Dizzy would have been safer. But I don't know. I felt like throwing SSB in. She would really add no benefit here. And then here we go, and then I went with my Bazaar, because I did lose Broman, but Bazaar on this one would make more sense, because there's no Ruel. It's all buffers, so Bazaar makes more sense here anyway. In the previous comp where I lost my Broman and stuff like that, it was because it's Ruel. I mean, you don't really want a Bazaar Ruel unless you can Abyssal Crown stun.
All systems online.
And then I lose my Tenebae here. This was just just a mess, like losing heroes left and right. But yeah, it's like, you know, I always use these cleave comps. If I can still get the win, it's low risk, high reward, because you save so much time, and it's just cooler. And if I really lose everyone, then I start going bruiser, right? So it's like I'm not gonna really lack. There's multiple ways to take out every single defense comp now. As long as you have the roster, you have the gear, it should be fine. So this is the second last war of the season. This one is, like I said, versus Sindria, and then on to the next one. Alright, the last guild war versus Irons. So Irons, so we won the war. This is the last war of the season. They actually did really well. They weren't even off that much. They took out our stronghold, we took out their stronghold. They were really close. But this is again how I approached their defense. John West.
It's time to tear them to pieces.
So this comp,
All that's left is ruin.
yeah. So I'm just gonna say this right now. If they're watching the guild war video, and as most people, you know, that we face maybe start watching the guild war videos, they'll start seeing that tank RB is gonna be really predominant in guild war defense even. So arena defense, like high champ, legend, if you see an RB, they're most likely gonna tank you with Moonlight Dreamblade. I mean, it deters like stuff like Emma Luluka, which is why Emma Luluka right now is not. She won't be once people catch on to it more. She won't be that good. But it's just how people, you know, they want to keep their RBs. And RB is right now is like the new BBK. So tanky counter set if you can. But most people who run RB right now, when I face higher guild war, I'm always just like, oh, they're gonna build it like mine. So most people are not gonna be able to cleave it really easily unless they can do Singelica, a defense break. Otherwise, it's not gonna be super easy. Some tank RBs are really monstrous. So this fight, I have to say, did throw me off for sure. I was considering, you know, this to be like, oh, it's free. You guys will see what happens here.
I'll show you what I've got. Prepare to win. Hey. Let's start with something light. I believe this is what the goddess wills.
It's counterattack Ruel. I was waiting all that time just to say it's a counterattack Ruel. This is it's actually pretty tanky. I don't know how this guy built his Ruel. Like, does he have a lot of effect resist? I'm not quite sure. But it's very tanky. It has Water's Origin, which is the right way to go for this one, and because tanky, you're gonna lack slightly a bit of speed, if anything. If he has all the right stats, he's gonna be like slower. But Water's Origin to keep up the heals, and the counterattack is just annoying. Look at that. They counters as much as Charles, and technically yes. Statistically speaking, it's the same counter rate as Charles, but we know Charles has like a separate type of RNG when it comes to his counter. The only good thing is that, again, because he doesn't have enough threats, DN ends up being okay one on this one again. The two threats that he has will not be able to output enough damage, especially if you put a K-Ron with Ruel. Again, SSB against SSB. It's more of the counterattack Ruel keeping her heals up that made the fight difficult. Because, you know, if I did a lot of damage, it Water Origins, and they could counter, so I pretty much lose all the damage I deal. The only good thing is that it's impossible at this point for Ruel to have both revived, since both heroes are squishy. Both of the damaged heroes are squishy. So even if she did counter a lot, all I had to do was build up souls, S2 again with SSB at the right turn, and then Ruel won't be able to heal even if she countered. Soul Burn, ignore effect resist, heal block her. Again, Ruel Ruel on a defense team has to be immune to this type of cheese. Has to be immune to SSB. That's why even though I have Ruel right now, I haven't put her on my defense team. It's just because every single comp that I'm thinking of right now with Ruel, you can SSB cheese. Like the way I'm doing. Like you either have like a spec Tenny hit in there, which again this team totally wrecks. So I haven't figured one out yet. But once I figure out one, I'll probably put my Ruel on the defense. Did this mainly for the immunity. No silence, no pushback on C Armin if she is in the right CR timeline for Assassin's to the AI. I did not know it was on Narnell until here. I was waiting for the Alexa basket proc and stuff like that. It never happened. And the Ruel here obviously healed a lot, so I had to restart all the way back. Water's Origin procking again. And the counter attack, so I'm just like, oh man, this is just... At this point, I was almost like counterattacking just to get SSB's S2 procced.
I will guide you through the light.
So this ended up being a long fight. Didn't have to be, but the John West Ruel was well built. As you saw, either I never procced the any debuffs on her, or like she has enough resist. So good resist. Like I think it has to be on a speed boot by default, but on counter, really tanky. 17,000 HP, probably at least 1700, 1800 defense, based on the damage I'm doing to it. I just wasn't doing enough damage. But again, SSB is broken. One of the most broken limited heroes still. That's it for John West, finally. Second one versus Resin. So back to cleaving. Or auto cleave on this one. So again, you have SSB, but no attack buff on their SSB. And then two dark heroes. Again, light elemental bait and SSB DN makes it easier. I know I run this comp a lot. It's just more of like a, like when it's like a Friday and you don't really want to sweat on Guild War. You just want to kind of like sit back and no RNG whatsoever on this comp. I'm just like, okay, I'll just run it. So it's a bit boring, a bit more boring on the last war here. So as I'm doing this voiceover recording, since this is like running long, I'm farming spirit altars. Not much to commentate on this, especially I've talked about these defenses before. Yeah, so I could say a running commentary. I mean, as the Guild War season is closed, if you're watching this video and not even talking to the guilds that we're facing, but rather like if you're just watching it wherever you are in Guild War, what are the things like I get asked, like what are my defense, like what should I do, right? So to make sure it's not cleavable, right, and then it's not SSBable. So the way that I have set it up here, SSB cheese, make sure you're not able to do those two, and it makes it a lot easier. Because everybody can do Dark Corvus, right? Everybody can do Dark Corvus, Crow, or some kind of defense buffer, and Akates. On almost every team that you see, they can all be done. If it's like a higher debuff team, they run a Momo with 300 effect resist. And this is the same concept though, Dark Corvus, Crow. So you have to go with like what people can easily do, but what they're maybe, maybe they're not willing to go Dark Corvus, right? So you got to deal with the SSB cheese and any type of cleave, basically. You have to throw more RNG on your own defense. So Charles still a very, very good defensive hero. I know he's kind of lost his place in like RTA. Not many people use him. He's still used, not many people use him. But on AI defenses, RNG is king. Usually any top Guild War, if someone loses to your defense, it's not because they made the wrong play or something, but it was because RNG pushed them into a corner to make a wrong play. High-end Guild War people don't usually lose. Like I said, I'm going risky because I just don't like Iggy doesn't really care about the wins as much. They care about individual wins for mystics, but in terms of like a guild as a whole, not as much anymore. So I do the cleave because it's just like, it's cooler, it's quicker. So it's slightly riskier. Otherwise, again, you could default it to some kind of bruiser. A Robbie's really good still too. Here's the last one versus Defias. This one, I got lazy. If I usually see like really high-end Bromans, I probably re-gear my Oxlots with my Athletica gear, give her the fastest speed, a speed imprint. But I was too lazy, so I just went with Athletica. Athletica is good against Kayron anyway. We talked about this again at I think the first war. You get the skill null, even the skill reset. Although I have 2 resetters here, it just prevents anyone from dying for Kayron, unless the Kayron is on counter, which is the other aspect of RNG. If you're gonna put a counter, if you're gonna put a Kayron on defense, he's got to be a counter now. It's like I'm gonna be like you know, teaching people to make the most cancerous defenses, but I'm saying that it is counter Kayron is the way to go on defense, especially. He's even good in RTA and stuff like that too. This comp is quite interesting. So I've talked about this again in other Guild Wars as well. T-Siren is a very popular defense hero now. With FCC, of course, it has to be coupled with FCC, and then they have to couple it with an Earth hero. And the only reason is because they want to prevent SSB cheese again. So C-Arm and DN SSB cheese, and this team would be dead. So without an Earth hero, the team is easily killed. This one's an interesting one because he went with Vivian. So Vivian wouldn't usually help with that comp. Vivian's relatively squish. Usually people go with the Charles or Valencia, but again, this comp that I'm using, never really failed with it before. Even Moonlight Dreamblade Tempest Siren, as long as Singelica is pretty fast, really fast I would say, and then RB is a tank RB, you're always gonna win. The Vivian, as you saw there, is actually really tanky, but it actually lacked damage. So when I couldn't kill her with a greater attack buff on RB, I was like, whoa, what? Had 10,000 HP is like, it's pretty good for Vivian. Usually people strive for 9k plus, but 10k is actually really good. I'm assuming it had like about like 1400, 1500 defense maybe. Yeah, Moonlight Dreamblade did proc there, but it doesn't matter at this point. Singelica on Propheto Candlestick. It will counter it pretty easily. So again, that one is the last war in the season, Yggy versus Irons. So in this video, we had the last 3 guild wars again of the season. I didn't know it was the last 3. We only found out about that on Wednesday when there was the patch release thing. It was like, oh, the guild war's ending. I was like, what? It was kind of surprising. Anyways, I'm gonna end that for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.